Hey guys, what is up? My name is London and welcome to the Jersey Zone. So today I wanted to talk about the Toronto Maple Leafs goalie situation. Now obviously free agency just happened. There's a whole bunch of different players going everywhere. I can talk about Gaudreau signing in Columbus, which I was really shocked about. I could talk about Giroux and everything that the Senators have done, which I've actually really liked a lot. But today, I kind of just wanted to focus in on the Maple Leafs and specifically their goalie situation. I'm not even going to talk about their other signings. As I'm recording this, they actually just signed Victor Mete and Jordy Ben as well. Not really going to touch on any of that stuff. I specifically want to look at the Toronto Maple Leafs goalie situation because to me, that is definitely the most interesting part of the Toronto Maple Leafs right now because I am very concerned with it. I will say I'm quite concerned with their goalie situation. So let's start off by looking at last year's Toronto Maple Leafs goaltenders. So you have Jack Campbell and Peter Mrazek. Now, Jack Campbell was good for about the first 2 months of the season, and he was so good. Obviously, people were talking about Vezina candidate. He obviously got into the All-Star game as well. But after the All-Star game, Jack Campbell was not very good. He was pretty bad for basically the rest of the season. He was okay in the playoffs. He wasn't the reason they lost, but he was just fine. Now, Peter Mrazek, on the other hand, he was awful for the entire season. He never really got his feet under him. He never was able to play multiple games in a row. It felt like almost every single time that he could play multiple games in a row, or he kind of had a pattern going to it. Either he got injured again, or the season got shut down a little bit due to COVID, or once again, he got injured. It just really wasn't a good season for Peter Mrazek. It was really unfortunate. I don't mind Peter Mrazek. Obviously, he was not very good in a Leafs uniform, but I obviously was rooting for him when he was in the Leafs uniform. Obviously, he's now been traded to Chicago, and that's kind of where this all started off, is where they traded away Peter Mrazek to the Chicago Blackhawks with their 25th overall pick, and they got back the 38th overall pick, so they basically just traded down 13 spots to get rid of that Peter Mrazek contract, which at the time I was completely fine with. I mean, obviously, it is a contract that Kyle Dubas did sign. It just didn't really work out, and trading down 13 spots isn't a huge deal in my opinion, so I thought that was fine to get rid of that $3.8 million contract for the next 2 seasons. But for me is obviously the concern when I started hearing rumors about them getting Matt Murray, and when that kind of first started off and people were speculating that the Leafs might get Matt Murray, I was like, nah, that's totally not going to happen. They're not getting Matt Murray, but it started to pick up more and more, and then of course the trade did end up happening, which was Matt Murray to the Leafs at 25% retained, and a 2023 third round pick, and a 2024 7th round pick as well for future considerations, which is just nothing. They basically traded nothing. 90% of the times, future considerations is just nothing at all. So they did technically get Matt Murray for free, but Matt Murray's cap hit is now going to be about $4.6 million for the Maple Leafs, so they basically added $800,000 to go from Peter Mrazek to Matt Murray. I don't know about that, I'll be honest with you guys. Because for me personally, I kind of see Matt Murray and Peter Mrazek in the same light. Not in the way that they play very differently for sure. But both goalies have not really been that great recently, mostly because of the fact of their injuries. They've also been injured a lot recently, and that is really my main concern with Matt Murray. But if you actually look at Matt Murray's numbers, a lot of the analytics community are actually kind of high on him having a bounce back year this season. He was okay in Ottawa for that last season, although he didn't really play a ton. I think he only played 20 games, if I'm remembering correctly, or maybe a little bit less. His underlying numbers were pretty high, and they were better than Jack Campbell's last year, which, like I said, Campbell didn't really have that great of a year last year in Toronto, and I'm sort of okay with not giving him 5 years at $5 million a season. I'm all right with that. But really my biggest concern with Matt Murray is the fact that he's just been injured so much recently, and like I said, he hasn't really been fantastic either. Even if you do compare him to Jack Campbell's numbers, I don't think he's been that great the past couple of seasons, so I'm just really iffy. It's a huge gamble, in my opinion, going for Matt Murray here, and to me, it just seems like the Toronto Maple Leafs wanted to get someone else. They wanted to get another one of the free agents goalies, whether that was going to be Jack Campbell or a Darcy Kemper, or maybe they would have traded for John Gibson or someone like that, and they just weren't able to get them. It just feels to me like Matt Murray was not their number one priority, and they kind of just had to do it because they had no other goalies. Who else were they going to get? So I'm not really a huge fan of acquiring Matt Murray. I'm very skeptical on it. I really am just not sure. Obviously, as a Leafs fan, I am hoping Matt Murray bounces back, is healthy, and has a decent year in Toronto. He doesn't even need to be fantastic. He really doesn't, because Like I said, last year, Toronto had terrible goaltending. They really did. So as long as he has like a 900 save percentage, that should be enough to get the Leafs into the playoffs. And then Matt Murray, obviously, he has won the 2 Stanley Cups. He knows how to win around, which Toronto really needs. So hopefully he kind of brings that magic that he had in Pittsburgh for a little bit there for those 2 seasons and kind of brings it back. I think that's one of the main reasons the Leafs actually did get him, is that he knows how to win in the playoffs. He's won 2 cups. He knows how to win around. He can kind of steal you around, or at least he used to, but that was 5 years ago. So I don't know, like, is he still going to have that sort of magic in the playoffs? Not really quite too sure. Probably not, because it's been so long, but, you know, maybe he does. Maybe he still has that kind of magic there. I don't know. I'm just really iffy on Matt Murray. Like, obviously, they got him for free, so it's not that big of a deal, but he is going to be their starting goaltender. He definitely is, because they did also bring in Samsonov as well, which they got him for 1 year. I think it was $1.8 million cap hit, so that was pretty low. Samsonov did have a pretty promising start to his NHL career, but last year he wasn't really that great with the Washington Capitals, so that is also basically another bet that the Toronto Maple Leafs are making. So they kind of have 2 goaltenders here with Matt Murray and Samsonov that they're just hoping have a bounce back year. So I don't know. Like, I think, to me personally, this is a huge risk with their goaltending. It really, really is. You have one goaltender who's been injured and not been fantastic that you're hoping stays healthy and kind of comes back to form. And then you have another goaltender who is still pretty young in Samsonov. He can kind of bounce back. I probably have more faith, honestly, in Samsonov, even though it's not like Matt Murray is that old either. Like, he's still a pretty young goaltender, but I can kind of see a little bit more upside in Samsonov, at least for myself personally. So maybe they try and make it like a 1A, 1B sort of situation there. I don't know. As a Leafs fan, I am just really iffy on it. I am not quite too sure what I would have done in the situation either. Like I was saying before, it almost feels like they just waited too long. They wanted someone else, and this is kind of their backup plan. Like, it's almost like they either wanted Campbell or they wanted Kemper, and they just weren't able to get it. They were at too high of a cap hit that the Leafs wanted to do, or they were asking for too many years than the Leafs wanted to do. Whatever it may be, I'm not really quite too sure, but at least I hope this wasn't their main plan going into the offseason, was to get Matt Murray and Samsonov, because I do think this is a fairly high-risk sort of situation with their goalies, where I think this possibly could cost them the playoffs. Like, I think if it goes poorly enough, it could cost them the playoffs. I don't think it will in reality. I do think Matt Murray and Samsonov will be decent enough that they'll keep the Leafs in the playoff kind of mix. I don't think they're going to win the division or anything like that, but I don't think that Matt Murray and Samsonov will be bad enough that the Toronto Maple Leafs won't make the playoffs. But that being said, as well, the Atlantic have done really well recently, like with all of the teams. I think Ottawa's gone a lot better. Detroit's gone a lot better. Boston, we'll kind of see how they end up. But I mean, like, Tampa and Florida are still going to be really good as well. So there's kind of a lot of teams that I think are in the Atlantic that are in the mix to make the playoffs. So I am quite concerned. I will be honest with you. Obviously, I am rooting for the Toronto Maple Leafs. I want Matt Murray to be good. I want him to have a bounce-back season and to be healthy. And I want Samsonov to have a bounce-back season as well. And for the Leafs to actually finally make it out of the first round. Obviously, I definitely want that for sure. But I am just slightly concerned about this goalie tandem. That's for sure. So I don't know. We'll see kind of how it works out for sure. But anyways, those are my kind of thoughts on the Toronto Maple Leafs goalie tandem. I'll see if I make a video on the other free agents that have signed throughout the league. Not really quite too sure if I will or not, because this video is even going up later than I wanted it to. And so by the time that I record that free agent video, I'm not quite too sure if I'll actually want to upload it, because it'll be probably a lot later than I want it to. So we'll see if I record that. But I will make a video probably before the start of the season for the Maple Leafs, kind of talking about all the other free agent signings as well. Like I said, Victor Mete and Jordy Ben just signed for the Maple Leafs, which is interesting for sure, but not going to touch on that in this video. Let me know what you guys think about the Toronto Maple Leafs goalie tandem in the comments down below. And also make sure to follow me on my Instagram and my Twitter at the Jersey Zone YT on Instagram and at the Jersey Zone on Twitter. Links are in the description down below. But like I said, that's it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.